Amandla awethu matla ya rona, all power, all power. Thank you very much, comrades. Firstly, let me apologize. I've got a flu. My voice is not strong, and it might go away whilst I'm talking. So ngilongela ukuthi nje ngikhulume ngalo. Ngingenza okunye. Ukwenzela ukuthi nomkhuhlane ungandi. Ngiyongixolela ke ngokulandelayo ngiyobe sengikanye nani la. Nami sengihlabela ngigcinela ngithanda khona. Ngikhulume ngigcinela ngithanda khona. Chairperson of the MKMVA, Comrade Kebi Mapaswe, members of the NEC of MKMVA, NEC members of the ANC present here, and I've recognized Comrade Guki Lenkwindi and Comrade Lindy Zulu. I'm sure others are still coming. The leadership of the alliance, the SABC, COSATU, and SANCO. Leadership of the leagues of the ANC and all fraternal organizations, esteemed delegates to this conference, religious leaders who are with us here, comrades and friends. Gathered here are former commanders and commissars and gallant combatants of our glorious army, uMkhonto weSizwe. The spear of the nation. It is indeed my absolute pleasure to convey revolutionary greetings to you on behalf of the National Executive Committee of your movement, the African National Congress. Let me express from the outset my sincere gratitude for having been invited to address this important conference, which is yet another chance at rebirth and renewal of uMkhonto weSizwe Military Veterans Association as an organization. Compatriots, we meet here at a time when our movement is confronted with serious challenges which threaten its organizational cohesion and unity, the rock upon which it was founded. Beyond this, the challenges we are facing now threaten our standing as the legitimate leader of the South African society. I agreed to come and engage with you today because it is my considered view that you, former combatants of uMkhonto weSizwe, who were prepared to lay down your lives for the freedom of others, represent the legitimate voices of those who are truly concerned about the state of our beloved organization. you are the people best placed to rise, speak, and fight in defense of our movement. And the National Democratic Revolution. I do not say you are best placed to rise, speak, and fight in defense of our movement and the National Democratic Revolution as an empty or an attempt to enable on what, or to embark on what some people call a charm offensive. I do so precisely because I know that the level of your political and ideological training is the best that our movement has ever had to offer. When we talk of MK cadres, we talked of cadres of the ANC who were trained both militarily and politically. You are gathered here representing different generations of the best cadres whose understanding of the approach to issues is scientific and informed by historical and dialectical materialism, the theoretical foundation of our revolutionary doctrine. I am saying, therefore, that you are best placed because the kind of challenges we are facing today are not cut and dry. They are complex. They require sober minds. Comrades, ours is a revolutionary movement. Therefore, in our efforts to resolve our challenges, we must always make a thorough assessment of the state of our revolution and answer the questions, and important questions indeed. One of these questions is the National Democratic Revolution still on track? I'm sure in the debate, you will answer this question as you discuss the issues. We must do this with the understanding that our revolution sought not only to defeat apartheid and colonialism, but also to create a totally new society founded on non-racialism, non-sexism, democracy, and prosperity. We have not yet created this society. Hence, the case exists for us to continue the revolutionary struggle. I'm making this point to remind you that we have not yet arrived where we want to go, and thus the struggle continues. As with all struggles, the creation of our envisaged society is proving not to be easy. We are confronted by a situation of dissenting voices, contesting and contending forces with antagonistically contradictory interests, both domestically and globally. We are, I repeat that paragraph, we are confronted by a situation of contending forces with antagonistically contradictory interests, both domestically and globally. Marx and Engels understood this phenomenon of contending forces very well when they wrote in the Communist Manifesto that, and I quote, "The history of all hitherto existing society is a history of class struggles, free man and slave, patrician and plebeian, lord and serf, guildmaster and journeyman, in a word, oppressor and oppressed, stood in constant opposition to one another, carried on an uninterrupted, now hidden, now open fight. A fight that each time ended either in a revolutionary reconstruction of society at large or in the common ruin of the contending forces," unquote. It is when you understand this, you will understand what is happening in South Africa today. But if you don't understand this, you would not understand. You might even move with the wrong forces without realizing. Former commanders and commissars and combatants of uMkhonto weSizwe must always be in a position to understand and articulate the South African context of this uninterrupted, now hidden, now open fight, which Marx and Engels referred to more than 169 years ago. The society contradictions continue. They change perhaps the methods, but the fundamental forms are the same. The question is, if we, who are former commanders and commissars, trained politically in the main, what then do we need to do if the situation confronts us as it is now? We are in a fight, and our strategic enemy remains white monopoly capital. Our 1996 strategy and tactics document could not have been more unambiguous about this point than when it said, and I quote, "In our country, more than in any other part of the oppressed world, it is inconceivable for liberation to have meaning without a return of the wealth of the land to the people as a whole. It is therefore a fundamental feature of our strategy that victory must embrace more than formal political democracy, to allow the existing economic forces to retain their interests intact, is to feed the root of racial supremacy and does not represent even the shadow of liberation. Let me repeat this quotation, comrades. 1969, the strategy and tactics adopted in Morogoro. And I quote again, "In our country, more than in any other part of the oppressed world, it is inconceivable for liberation to have meaning without a return of the wealth of the land to the people as a whole. It is therefore a fundamental feature of our strategy that victory must embrace more than formal political democracy, to allow the existing economic forces to retain their interests intact is to feed the root of racial supremacy and does not represent even the shadow of liberation," unquote. We can't therefore say because we are politically free, we have democracy, that is now the end, even if we starve to death. We can't. We must complete the liberation as the ANC strategy and tactics said many years ago. Our failure to understand this and act accordingly makes a mockery of our status as a revolutionary movement leading the National Democratic Revolution, aimed at the total emancipation of black people in general and Africans in particular. Comrades, our revolution is on trial. We must unite and close ranks. We have seen in the recent past the sporadic emergence of civil society groupings mobilized on the basis of hostile opinions against the ANC and its leadership. Most unfortunately, some have fallen into the trap and have joined these groupings in order to spear, in order to appear as intellectually and morally sound. When we participate in activities aimed at dividing, weakening, and destroying the ANC, we are, in essence, acting in a counter-revolutionary manner. We're comrades. At what point do we call counter-revolutionaries counter-revolutionaries? Let us unite, close ranks, and refuse to join sporadic movements whose origins and ultimate objectives we do not know. On this score, I believe and am encouraged that this conference is indeed part of our continued efforts to unite, close ranks, and find solutions to the challenges we are facing today. This conference, its outcome, must distinguish these cadres who are here from others. Yes, we must have frank and at times uncomfortable discussions driven by our shared love for this glorious movement of the people and our country, the African National Congress. We must go back to the timeless principles and values of our movement, of robust internal engagement. But we must not abuse those opportunities to use that to spite others and to undermine our organization. Because at times people say we want frank discussions because they just want to swear at you, do everything. Because those frank discussions should be aimed at helping the organization and therefore helping the country. Let us put a stop to the public spats that serve only to derail us from the tasks of our revolution, thereby advancing the interests of the enemy. Let us close ranks and refuse to engage in the muddy politics of spectacle where our opponents see us as their allies in attempts to defeat the ANC. An ANC cadre must be different from other people who do many things. Once you find yourselves in the space of the enemy, you must know something has gone wrong with you. We are already under attack from many fronts. We cannot afford any more self-inflicting pain. Let us appreciate that the ANC has faced too many serious challenges since it was born in 1912, and has always emerged out of them stronger. Our challenges are not insurmountable. They need us to be clear, to be united, to face them. We'll have very important meetings this year, which we must take full advantage of to resolve our problems. These are the consultative conference and the policy conference now in June, and the national conference later in December. We must ensure that these conferences are not inward-looking. We must not spend more time discussing ourselves, not the progress of our revolution. They ought to accelerate the pace of our renewal and once again place the interests of the black majority right at the center of our political programs. Comrades, our revolution will not succeed without the people, the motive forces. We must work to unite our people behind our revolutionary objectives. Disunity in the ranks of our movement inevitably erodes our moral authority to influence people and lead them towards a united and prosperous society. In short, we cannot unite our people if we ourselves are not united. We therefore have the responsibility to search deep into the soul of our movement and discuss without fear or favor the things that divide rather than unite us. We must take on this responsibility not as a witch hunt, naming and shaming exercise, but with the sole intention of answering the burdensome questions as to what is to be done by this movement in order to move forward. It is our ability to answer this important question as what is to be done, which will reaffirm our capacity as a movement to provide decisive leadership to society in general, and also restore people's confidence in us where it may have been eroded. We need to honestly confront all the stubborn challenges that have bedeviled our movement since it came into power in 1994. For factional reasons, we are always negative. We are allowing negative tendencies to take root and enrich themselves as part of the culture of our movement. These tendencies, such as gatekeeping, discouraging ordinary members from any further participation in meetings and programs of the organization. Needless to say, the end result of this is that our branches are shrinking in numbers and are failing to mobilize the broadest strata of our society, and therefore undermining the broad church character of the ANC. In short, we are eroding our capacity as an organization to influence people. We need to search deep within ourselves as to what role we are playing in all of this as the leadership and advanced cadership. I'm raising these here because the Polokwane Conference directed that MK veterans must play a significant role in the political education of the ANC members, which I believe can go far in ridding our movement of some of these negative tendencies. In other words, leaving aside other sectors of the movement, we here, we need to ask ourselves a question: what has been our response to the Polokwane resolution? To us as former MK commanders and commissars, are we participating in the political education through the ranks of the ANC to help to empower the ANC? Or are we waiting for a school to be built? Because we have developed a new tendency that political education can only take place when there are schools built. Not a single one here can say you are so advanced because you went to some school in a kind of a building. We learn politics, whatever space we found. That is our duty. I want to stress this point because, Director of the program, I would be very happy if you came out here with a resolution that is aligned to the political education of the ANC, and to give yourselves that task in all provinces, that former commissar must be part of political education of the African National Congress. Because if we don't do so, this organization will die slowly. Because the ANC has succeeded to exist for 105 years because of political consciousness and political maturity. Comrades, I've been speaking about the key sectors of power as concentrated in the political and security establishments, as well as the economy. By political design, we are not in charge of the economy. Most worrying is the fact that although we enjoy popular support, having won successive elections since 1994, our divisions and infighting severely limit our ability to decisively exercise political power in the interests of our people. We seem to lack the fundamental appreciation of the fact that we have gained political power in order to penetrate all other sectors of power and break once and for all the backbone of apartheid and colonialism, which is monopoly control of the economy. It is absolutely important, comrades, that we don't forget this. We don't also, because we are now free, we have a vote, and begin to define freedom in a very shortened fashion. To say freedom is political freedom and end there. Kuthi ngoba sesiyavota, sesakhululeka. Freedom means you must be in control of everything. Politics, economy, and security of the country. There are three important pillars of any state: the political pillar, the economic pillar, and the security pillar. I think it would be very exciting if during this conference, rather than discussing all other issues under the sun, as former soldiers, zoom in on the critical issues of any state, discuss that, and say, are we in control? If not, what needs to be done? I always feel that if we go to conferences, we, as former MK, we should come with the inputs or proposals that are very much in line with our profession. I know that at times in policy conferences, people flock to financial report. Kuzoxoxwa ngemali nongakwazi ukubala afunde ngalelo langa. Or long political debates. I think you need as this collective, as a delegation from here, to come to the conference with worked out issues to raise. And those issues must be felt. They are now coming from MKMVA. Are we politically holding the power? And ikuba bekungekhona mana lapha ngikutshena ngabe ngiyanichazela ukuthi ngisho ukuthini. Manje angifunike ngoba ama headlines ayosuka sebe inyinto. It's a very critical question. And we can talk what has happened. And the question is, where are we? I met some comrades many a times. But complain ukuthi abasifune emabranchini. Ngamtshela ngathi angifuni ukulalela kuwe. I don't want to listen. You were taught MCW. Huh? Where you were taught how to survive and create condition in the enemy area. And you tell me, I'm a civilians, I'll keep a good branch. Hey, smanga this. Huh? Now, pumeng and pele branchi. I'm a civilians, I'll keep. No. Utrenil. Was in the bangayazi MCW. Hey, mhlabe. Hi. It is a critical issue to remain in the structures to ensure that no people can mislead the ANC into wrong directions. It needs you. Must then ask the question of the economy, the pillar of economy. And the third, the pillar of security. And I would be happy if you discuss that aspect, because that is your profession. The security of the country. I think we unwittingly put down our guards when the matter, wherever the matter was discussed of the security of the country. In security, as it was discussed, there were two elements. The element of commercial side of security, because it is a business, right? But there is a security side. we promoted the commercial side and allow people from all over the world to form security companies in this country. Because we said it's business, we are opening it up. Some security companies who are here, you ought to know better. I can't say what I wanted to say. But we are ngizwa ukuthi ngithini. Ngizwa kahle. And ngiyojabula masenikhuluma because no, you will be on your own. You can say a spade is a spade on this matter. Kulungile ke kodwa ngoba ningivala umlomo ngokuthi kube khona ihlobo. Uvalekile ke angikwazi ukudlula lapho. Bengifuna ukugcila kuleli phuzu. You have read about revolutions being taken away from revolutionaries. There are many books. I don't think we want South Africa to be one of the countries counted in that list. We must defend our revolution. We must make our freedom complete. We must participate. We must be part of the structures that deal with these matters. We must be part, in a serious sense, of the activities of our organization, the African National Congress. Angasuka usinga angeke ngikhulume nje njengomuntu normal. Comrades, let me end by encouraging you to emerge out of this conference more united and with a solid view of what radical socio-economic transformation would mean to you. We need as many voices as possible to give the phrase radical socio-economic transformation substance. We must talk about this. What does that mean? It is dedicated to deal with one of the pillars, the economic power. We must understand what it means, why, and how could we achieve the freedom that will satisfy every South African. No, let us not shout the slogan. What I want is the discussion. How do we radically deal with the economic factors? One of those, the fact that we are poor, we're hungry, there's inequality, land played a critical role. And therefore, we need to understand that we need to correct the imbalance in the land question, but properly, within the Constitution, within the law. If we think that the law or the Constitution does not reach the point, it is democratic to amend the law or the Constitution. It's democratic. Well, comrades, before I go further, I wish this conference success. And I must say that leading up to this conference, there were a number of engagements that you undertook, including comrades who were not necessarily part of this structure, but who are former MKs, who felt they needed to participate. Without over the period, I think you were ready to engage, and you did engage. Now, I thought that was absolutely politically important, that we said, let us discuss, let us find a way. Shortcoming that I noticed is when comrades were not engaging to get the agreement from those who are in the structures, but to want to force matters at all costs. I think that was not at all right. Because that confuses the intention. That confuses the intention. There were two comrades who came, former MK, who came to talk to me when the council was meeting. And I said to them, this is not the structure of the ANC. But they said, we wanted to help the organization to bring stability, etc. I said, I will support the comrades who want to support stability and unity in the organization. They came back saying there was a debate, there was an engagement. And it has been agreed. I said, wonderful. But I also got to know that when the delegates met, were not happy with what was referred to as an understanding or an agreement. And they stuck to the principles. I don't think that should have caused a problem. Because the comrades were right to do so, if that was their view. You can't force ourselves into doing things, and I don't want to say more on this one. I'm just saying it is unfortunate that some comrades have lost this opportunity to be here, to engage, so that we come together on the matters that I've raised. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that indeed, after all of this, one of the resolutions you will take is to engage those comrades so that you are able to come together as this force. You must come up with such a resolution. What did you say to that? That you could present to the mother body, the ANC. Otherwise, I am confident. I've seen faces here that I haven't seen for a long time. Commissars. And I'm sure you are going to come out much ready out of this conference, which has taken long before it met. And I'm hopeful that even those interactions, if they were bruising at times, you are here in a structure that must help lead those who may be outside of the structure. It's your duty, it's your responsibility as the leadership. As you emerge, you must be talking strengthening of the ANC by strengthening all its elements, the leagues, this association. The challenge is big. One day when I will tell you what is happening so that we are clearer. Okwamanje awungama lapho ngoba ngizoze ngidlule ngikhuluma ongafanele. Amandla awethu lumhla sibuyayo lumhla sibuya lumhla sibuyayo gothula kuthi lumhla sibuya lumhla sibuya lumhla sibuyayo gothula kuthi Okal, okal, ogoduma ombamba phezulu kwentaba. Okal, okal, ogoduma embamba phezulu kwentaba. Umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya yo gothula ukuthi. Umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya yo ukhala okhala, okhala, ogoduma embamba phezulu kwentaba. Okhala, okhala, ogoduma embamba phezulu kwentaba. Umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya yo gothula ukuthi. Umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya yo gothula ukuthi. Okhala, okhala, ogoduma embamba phezulu. Okhala, okhala, ogoduma embamba phezulu. Umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya yo gothula ukuthi. Umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya, umhla sibuya yo gothula ukuthi. Okhala, okhala, ogoduma embamba phezulu. Okhala, okhala, ogoduma embamba phezulu kwentaba. Siyabonga uMkhonto.